Hi again there. It's bright in the afternoon, and I know I haven't done a poetry video just yet, but that's coming up soon. I wanted to make sure I got that in before the day was out, but I'll probably do that next. It's probably going to be the next video. And also I was going to have something pre-prepared, and I did. So I do actually have something pre-prepared, but I might decide to save that for later and do that next time and just do something really quick and really short. And then have that prep for the next video. So anyway, where did we leave off? We were talking about compassion and people feeling somewhat disenchanted a little bit, you know. What is spirituality part 4? So we're still on the topic of compassion. We're actually going to continue that topic. Heart, love, tender kindness. We must remember compassion because this is one of the biggest things we forget sometimes. So what are we going to be talking in addition to the previous video? What are we going to be talking about this time? Well, we got all this stuff over here. Have compassion for yourself. We're going to return to this image. You're walking in the wilderness and you're trying to figure out who you are and why certain people may not, like you for who you are. Well, sometimes you go out into the wilderness, you take a hike, you get to thinking, you get to daydreaming, and then you find out what you're good at, if you start daydreaming about a bunch of stuff, I'll tell you right now, I do that a lot when I'm hiking. I always got something on my mind. I haven't gone hiking in a while. Should be doing that. But, yeah. You're out in the wilderness. You're thinking about past relationships, past encounters, and all that craziness. And let's say some of these relationships were failed relationships. And they landed, they may have landed you in trouble. What would you do then? Fortunately, I didn't have to go through that, so I'm not really talking about myself this particular time. I'm just saying, imagine if that's yourself. Let's all imagine if that could have been ourselves. What would we do? I think what we should do there is just ruminate what could have gone better. What should we have done differently? And this goes back to what? Spirituality. Spirituality. Being in best spirits. Making yourself a happy person. Because the only thing that may be that's the number one thing in this life is having some kind of a joy. And you got to be able to have empathy or compassion for yourself first. So if you hate yourself and you don't like yourself, you're not trying to empathize with yourself, that's not the same thing as having a pity party. We don't mean empathize with yourself like try to, say that, oh, I was supposed to have this and I was supposed to have that. Maybe it's not about what you have, right? But maybe what you know and what you can do. Because sometimes what you can do and what you're about is always more than what you could take in. So that may be one of the best ways to have compassion for yourself. Not necessarily hoarding onto certain things or holding on to certain things. Unless really what it is that you just have an addiction to certain things, Maybe you have an addiction to hoarding. That's different. Maybe you suffer from nostalgia. I'm not really talking about those people. I'm talking about the ones that feel like they gotta have this stuff to prove to somebody else that they're happy. Or they have certain things where they gotta prove to somebody else that, yeah, I'm doing good. See me, I'm doing good. We're talking about those types. So, and if it's not stuff, it could be relationships. So that's not really a way to have compassion for you, for your own self. You got to have compassion for yourself first. And that's how you could be spiritually inclined, to have compassion for someone else. And anybody that's feeling disenchanted, the disenchanted persons, that could be a particular group of people in a particular community, or should I say that particular community. They all think that the government's supposed to give them opportunity. Well, they did. They're not rounding you up. They're not shooting you dead. They gave you education. It's up to you to do what you want to do with the education. They gave you the internet. They gave you jobs. Okay. What can you learn from that job? What did you learn at that job? Could you turn what you learned at that job into a business? That's what people probably should start thinking about. Is, did you learn anything at that particular job, and could you turn it into a source of income that is your own? You work for yourself. For example, Amazon has come out with this thing where they're doing franchising opportunities. People can set up their own logistics setting or station or work area, work building, whatever you want to call it, maybe their own warehouse. They'll get a team of drivers. They handle the scanning, the technology. They're going to give you technology to scan that stuff and take care of local regions, I would imagine. I don't know if they're going to be doing any outbound packaging or anything like that, but that's online. And they're starting with their workers first. So you can check that out. That's another opportunity. I'm basically throwing away opportunities to people that don't know about it. Just gave you some information. So that's an example. Maybe your journey on this earth, remember spirituality, your journey on this earth is for you to work for yourself. It's for you to work for yourself. Spirituality, breath, right? Remember we said spirit is life. Breath is life, right? In this life, you're supposed to be a leader. In this life, you're supposed to manage something. In this life, you're supposed to take a lot of charge over something. That's something to consider. That is really something to consider. There's something you can do. There's something you can do. A lot of people, by default, if they already know that there's something for them and they want to take charge in something, they wouldn't need videos like this. So, or should I say, they probably won't watch videos like this. Maybe they would watch videos like this. I don't know. I personally don't know. I don't know if they came, what they came for, or if they're just interested. But you got to have compassion for yourself first. So today's topic underneath compassion would be like a subtopic, really. So today's topic, compassion, and with this subtopic, what are you about? That's going to be for today's video. That's what we're talking about. And we got off to a decent start. So what are you about all the way in yourself? So in one of the other videos, I mentioned something about sometimes you can always go to nature and go home to yourself. We don't mean go home as in your house. We mean go inside of you, yourself. That's the real home, because everywhere you go, you're technically home. You got to know that. Your headspace is your home. Your heart is your home. You are your home first. You could go to your house and then probably feel like you're not at home sometimes. Probably because something's not going on right with yourself. Something's not going on right with yourself. Maybe you're depressed. Maybe you can't get over a pain that happened from years ago. Like I'll say there were certain places that I lived at. It just didn't, I would not consider that, I always feel like I'm home. And that's because of the drama that was there. It wasn't constant drama, it's just on and off. People can't agree with each other. You don't feel like you're home. So living on your own is peace of mind. I'll just say I had a couple of, like my first set of roommates, that was the case. The third set, that was also the case, at least one of them. Sometimes you don't feel like you're home. And what I had to do to ease up the drama, I would just leave and make YouTube videos. Like the time when I did those hiking videos, that was around those times, especially like the earliest videos I made on this channel, that was the time when I started leaving and saying, you know what, I already know what I'm about. I just have to remember that wherever I take myself, I just got to know how to be home with me though. Because I know how to do that. It's just that sometimes when other persons are around, they can take you away from that feeling of being home. So home is not always where you just pay rent. It's where you're comfortable being you, really. That's what home is. I don't know if too many people have that discussion, or do they know how to have that discussion? Do you know how to have that discussion? So, this is a good topic. This is a really good topic. What are you about? What are you truly about? Why did you date that particular individual if you're living in the same house? And let's say you're living in there only because the two of you can't afford rent by yourselves. That's not really a home, because those two, if they can't get along with each other and they just happen to have a common situation on the outside, but on the inside, they're hardly home on the inside because money's getting in the way And let's say when they get together, they still don't know how to go home on the inside and say, you know, when I go back and look inside myself, I'm at peace because I'm with somebody I can tolerate. Because their insides are very common, like my inside. Their inside is common, like it's very common with my inside. It relates to my inside. It relates to my inside. We have a lot of things we can agree on. So people will say, well, you don't forget that opposites attract. They don't. They don't. They don't. They absolutely don't. Opposites don't attract. Opposites do not attract. There are certain people that if you are opposite me, I'm gonna give you an example of an opposite. Somebody that has a particular jargon, right? And they talk about a whole bunch of yo this and yo. I don't respond to that. I don't respond to that. I've since my teenage years and before, I always ignored those people. I've ignored them. Yesterday, I was on my way to take care of some of my own personal business, on my way somewhere, and then these persons, they said something like yo, and they just, and then some neighbors say, somebody's talking. I say, I don't know those people, so thank you though. Thank you for getting my attention, but at the same time, I don't know those people. That was just yesterday. So that's an example. So it's around, and it happens. That was just yesterday. It's not worth responding to. I don't answer to yo. It's called excuse me. May I please get your attention? That's how you talk. Not barking like a dog. There are always people like that are always barking. I don't answer to stuff like that. That's not how to get somebody's attention. People that are well mannered, they always say, excuse me, may I please have your attention for a second, or something like that. They have a way of saying it that's appropriate. So I don't respond to that yo stuff, because I don't do it to anybody. So why should I take it? You know what I mean? Why should I take it? That's not me being rude. It's more like, dude, you need to learn how to talk. Because here's the funny thing. People say, well, maybe you should have told them that. Here's the thing, and here's where you don't know any better for saying that, right? You could respond to them, but what they'll try to do is speak louder than you. They'll try to stand taller, and the purpose of them doing that, all that body movement, is to make sure they shut you down. So what you're saying doesn't work. They will do things with their body, hike their head up a little bit, make sure their chin is up. Oh, excuse me. Then they'll say excuse me at the last minute. Maybe they'll do that. Oh, I just wanted to say this, and I just wanted to say that. They want to shut you, because they feel bad if you're correcting them. They feel bad. They feel like trash if you correct them. That's understandable. If I ignore you, just handle it, person. So I just ignore it. I don't entertain it. I don't talk to him. I don't say anything. I just told that other person, he was coming out with a bicycle or something. He said, they're trying to get your attention. I don't know those people. They always say yo to somebody, and I never answer to yo. I never answer to that. This is not worth answering. It's not worth answering. I don't see a reason to answer to that. So, yeah. That's one thing that I've dealt with, and I guess the situation would turn into negative spiritedness if I were to turn around and told them how to talk, because I'd be wasting my time. It's not like they're gonna actually listen to that. I'd be wasting my time. So I just kept walking. So, and they just kept doing it as I keep going down another block, another block, another block, another block. So I think the only reason why they started saying something, because I was looking in their direction, but I was looking at the door. I was like, so that particular store is still open. And those two people, only one of them was talking. They're hanging around the corner. I'm thinking, sir, in the middle of the pandemic, maybe you should go home. Maybe you should go home, or go to a forest or something like that. Go to a forest walk. Those are the type of people, if you said go to the forest, they're like, why would I be doing that? Yeah, they're not your kind of people. They're definitely not your kind of people. I'm sorry, they really aren't. They really aren't. They're not your kind of people, dude. Or should I say they're not my kind of people. There's nothing to relate with there. They listen to music I don't care about. They carry themselves in a manner that I don't care about. I don't care about how they carry themselves. I don't want to get to know those people. Okay, and they carry themselves that way. I'm not interested. I don't really care to get to know them. So that's that. That is that. I don't. And there'll be people that if they don't look in my direction and they don't really care to get to know myself, that's fine. That's fine also. I wouldn't worry about that. See, I don't worry about what everybody else does, but when certain people think that you're being conceited to them, you actually aren't. You don't care for that. You don't care for that nonsense that's coming out of their mouth. I don't respond to that. And I don't have to say anything to them to let them know. That's not how you respond. I think I did that years ago, and I think some people just snickered and laughed. I think that's what happened. So I'm thinking, maybe if I just don't talk to these persons and just ignore them, that would be a better approach. So whether you do respond or say hi or say hello, they always need things to go in their favor. And I'm thinking these people are always ignorant. They're always ignorant. They're never ignorant. I mean, they're never knowledgeable about the fact that somebody is just not for them. Sometimes they have a wiser friend and that friend is knowledgeable while they stay ignorant. Okay? They're always ignorant about the fact that, somebody just doesn't see them that way. They don't see you that way, which means you would have to change some things about how you are in order for somebody to see you that way. And I'm not going to tell you you have to change for me to see you a certain way. None of that, none of what you're doing is approachable. It's not approachable at all. Nothing of what that person was doing was approachable whatsoever. So that was yesterday. So that's that topic. And where did we, now I gotta rewind. We were talking about have compassion on yourself, know who you are, always know that you're home when you're going somewhere. Always know that you're home when you're going somewhere within yourself. Always know that you're home. Always know that you're home when you're within yourself. What are you about? That's today's topic. That's today's topic. So what does this have to do with that person? Pretty much what I think I forgot how this topic got to started. I said got to, yeah, did I say got to start? No, got started a little bit. Jesus Christ. I think I may have forgotten a little bit how this topic got to started, but I think I said it again. I don't care. We're just going to keep going. we're just going to keep going and move on because we're wasting seconds and minutes. And I'm going to have to upload this part because I got more parts that have to go in. All right, so yes, if you take anything away from this topic, always go home in yourself. Sometimes certain family members you talk to, if they're terrible at listening, that's a good way to know, oh, we're not home. We're not home right now. A particular parent may ask, why, how come you and I don't talk all that much anymore? Because it's never there's never any homeliness. You gotta always feel at home when you're around certain people, because why would that particular setting be professional? But sometimes people want to talk to you in a particular fashion, and the same thing happens to them. They may have a particular family member where they try to, make it seem like, oh, you need assistance all the time. You need this, you need that. I didn't ask for your help, so no, I don't. Or let's say they speak to you in a manner where they can't be bothered to you. I'll say, well, I'll just make sure I won't call around here anymore. So that will make me feel better spiritually inclined, in a sense. Inclined. And sometimes these will be people that will say, oh, well, the Bible has an answer for this. There are other ways of looking at it. I don't have to get my answers out of a book. I have other ways of looking at it. My journey gave me the answer, not a book. A book by itself, one book will not teach me all that I need to know. And a lot of people say, oh, that's the only book you need. I don't agree with that. I completely disagree with that. That is not the only thing you would need. It's a good starting point to see what were the human beings from back then trying to teach people out of this book, because it's really a human teaching, to be honest with you. But like I said, what I believe in is a source of being that we're all branches of. We are all branches of. We're not really beneath anything. We are all branches of one source of being. Okay. The universe does not see humans, okay, or should I say some source of power or some, which I don't call it a deity. We just call it, a powerful being, a supreme being, that particular supreme being, I highly doubt that the supreme being will see you as less than himself. Why? Or herself. Because it, first of all, it can't have a gender. Gender is physical. You can't really have a gender, dude. Can't have a gender out of the flesh. I'm sorry. Okay, that being does not. But a lot of people try to tell you, no, that being has a gender. That's physical. So people that have somatic thinking, bodily thinking, understand gender because they're bodily. They're not cerebral, they're bodily. They're very bodily in their thoughts. And I call that skitter logic. So what is skitter logic? Skitter logic, this is going to be a funny discussion. Skitter logic is pretty much any animal that has a hard time seeing above the canopy of a tree. Birds have better logic. Metaphorically speaking, that's kind of like saying birds will have a better logic than skitter about animals that just skitter about on the ground. You're basically a low-level animal based off your logic. So there are different tiers of logic: low-level logic, mid-level logic, and high-level logic. But I always like to coin logic as this: log, like a tree log ick. It can't move. Can't move, right? Can't move. That means you're not trying to expand to another perspective. You're not trying to look at this at another perspective. We understand your perspective. Can you look at it through another lens? Could you look at it through another lens? Okay, there's quantum theory telling you one thing, and then there's something else. All of these things could be possible. But you're saying only one thing is possible. No, I don't believe in hell. I don't believe in it. Sorry, I don't believe in hell. A lot of the turmoil that happens on earth is the hell. Hell is actually made. It's not a place that you go to when you die. It's made. I don't believe in that. Sorry. That doesn't necessarily mean that some of the events in the Book of Revelations won't happen. Yes, there will be an end of the world, probably. And it's going to be caused by mankind, not some powerful being that throws fire at the earth, when in actuality what that is just plasma energy from the sun. And all that does is smack the earth's magnetic field and just knocks out your power. That's all it does. That's all it does. Solar flares. You expect me to believe that he threw fire down from the sky? I don't think so, because they were practicing sorcery or witchcraft or whatever you want to call it. No, I don't believe that. So that's all I'm going to say about that person. No, I don't believe that. So no, I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, the Bible is all you need. That's in the Old Testament. What I just told you is in the Old Testament. Somebody's going to say, oh, he didn't say that, but it's in the Old Testament. What are you talking about, person? It's in the Old Testament, okay? It's in there. I've read it. You don't read. People that want to argue with you about the Bible, and I don't care to argue about the Bible with anybody else. I don't care to. I don't want to talk about it. I don't really care. I'll read it in my leisure if I want to and say, let's take a look at some books we haven't yet read yet, or we just neglected, just as a hobby. Somebody else will say, so do you actually believe in that stuff? So why are you reading it? And what do you do? Why do you waste your time arguing about what somebody's doing? There are 7 continents, 4 oceans. Africa as a continent by itself has at least 52 to 53 to 54 countries on it. The United States has at least 50 states plus a few territories. Canada has how many provinces or territories? I think it's either provinces or territories. Australia, both a continent and a country, has how many territories on it? Or do they call it provinces? I forget which one. And then in Russia, they just call them oblasts. I guess that's like synonymous with what a territory is. Sections of Russia. They call it different things over there. And then you go to any other country, Tajikistan, Pakistan. You got all these places, and you got Israel somewhere in the midst. All these places in the world that you could go to, that you could visit. You could go to India, okay? You could go to anywhere in the world. Visit Taj Mahal, why don't you? Okay? Go to Egypt. Visit the pyramids. Go to South America. Go to Brazil. Go to the Amazon rainforest. Sit on top of the canopy if you could climb that tall. Go canoeing. Do one of these things. Do one of these things, or not just these things. Start a group on here. You can start a brand new group that doesn't have to be these. You can start any group you want, anything you want to talk about. Instead, you want to argue with me, waste your time with me, when all you're probably going to do is go home, probably drink, maybe yell at your husband or your wife or whoever it is you're talking to. Don't waste your time on me, person. It's pointless. Okay, once again, that's falling into what? Negative spirituality. Okay, you're impacting yourself spiritually, because I know how to ignore you after that. I'm just going to tell you in this video, it's not worth it. It's not worth it arguing about that stuff. And people have said, oh, that's the argument people have had for years. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Once upon a time, I was a Christian, then an atheist, then an agnostic. Now, I'm just open to the fact that we do come from a particular source. That's it. Okay, so my viewpoints have changed over time. I have, I've studied different things, different spiritual practices. Maybe not all of them. Not all of them. I've read the book Taoism, Lao Tzu's book. I think that's how you pronounce it. And I've read the Buddhist teachings. I think I read a book that maybe summarizes some of what they're teaching. I feel like that wasn't even all of them. Read some books out of the Bible. At least the more like up to Joshua. And then I read Proverbs and I think Psalms in there too. It was either Psalms, but I know I read Psalms at least. But it's basically all it is a bunch of principles. At what time do they talk about God in there? I don't recall it. All it is a book of principles. It reads a lot like Taoism. And then I read like at least the first 3 or 4 books in the New Testament. And I definitely read the book of Revelations. See, when I was a little kid, when I read that book, or a teenager, I was like, you know, this is a badass book. I like how they wrote this. It's a badass book. That doesn't mean I'm going to take everything in there seriously. I just said, why do people think this is the scariest section of the book? Because even if that does happen,